This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hey there, cat lovers. Welcome to 9 Lives with Dr. Kat. I'm your host, Dr. Catherine Prim. I'm a small animal veterinarian and cat lover for a long, long time. So today I have a really different guest because this is a product that was brought to my attention through some of my colleagues associated with fear-free practice and decreasing stress and handling for especially our feline patients. And I was alerted perhaps about this product, and I reached out to my guest today, and his name is Will Van Ness, and he is with Van Ness Products, and they have a very, very innovative product that all my listeners and all cat lovers everywhere need to check out. So we're going to talk with Will a little bit about this product and why it's special and why you need it. So we're just going to take a quick break and come back with Will.
Here's an alarming statistic. More than 2/3 of dogs and cats have oral health disease by the age of 3, and one of the indicators is bad breath. Do your pets have a healthy mouth? Do you cringe when it's time for a kiss or a snuggle? Let's get to the cause. Harmful bacteria in their mouth. And bad breath is just the start. The bad bacteria cause tartar and oral disease, which can lead to serious overall health problems. It's critical to make sure your pet's oral health is the best it can be, as good dental health is key to optimizing their overall health. Now, good news. It's easy and affordable to improve their oral health with Probiora Pet. Just 1 scoop of this dental care probiotic mixed into their food daily floods the mouth with positive bacteria, which crowds out the bad. This means better oral health and fresher breath. Probiora Pet is an all-natural dental care probiotic. It's odor and taste-free, so your pets will still enjoy their chow. We want to keep your pets healthy. During National Pet Oral Health Month, our listeners can save 10%. Go to probiorapet.com and use PLR10 at checkout. That's probiorapet.com. Use PLR10 at checkout to save 10%.
Let's talk pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to 9 Lives with Dr. Kat on Pet Life Radio. I have with me today Will Van Ness. Welcome, Will.
Hi, Dr. Kat. Thanks so much for having me.
So I get a lot of requests for products, to highlight products and things. But in your case, I reached out to you about your product because I think it's pretty unique and pretty special. But I'd like to hear a little bit about how you ended up here and who you are and all of that kind of stuff. Can you give us some background information?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So I am the owner of Van Ness Pet Products. I am the 3rd generation in a family business. I'm the only family member involved at this point. My grandfather founded the business in the mid-1940s in New Jersey, which is where we still are today. He was an engineer, and we started out as custom molders. And as we evolved as a company, we got involved in the pet industry. And this would have been in probably the mid-1960s when the pet industry was still in its infancy in the US and globally, quite frankly. And ever since then, we have been a pet-centric company. We manufacture only pet products. And so that is the focus of everybody who works here with me. And this product that we're talking about today is one of my latest products, and it's called the Calm Carrier. And it is, we believe, a very innovative way to transport small animals, specifically cats.
Well, I think that everyone that has a cat, and of course, everyone that has a cat needs to have a veterinarian, will respond and recognize that the motivation for developing a carrier that is a better way to get your cat to the vet is a strong motivator. I know a lot of my clients used to talk about it's so hard. She hates riding in the car. She hates getting in the carrier. So you saw this need, and you've obviously done some research and product development because this is pretty innovative. Can we talk a little bit about the features?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do here is we are product designers and engineers. And as pet owners ourselves, we understand what some of the challenges are unique to owning cats in particular. A lot of our products are focused primarily on cats. We manufacture a lot of cat litter maintenance products and accessories, litter pans, and the like. This product is very different from that. And the evolution of it was as we understood that cats can be very, very difficult to load into carriers, we realized that there must be a better way. And research indicated not only that it was a difficult process for the pet, but also for the pet owner. And I'm sure you can attest to this, Dr. Kat, but what we found is that many cat owners stopped bringing their pets to the vet for wellness visits. And the reason being that it was such an emotional process to get their animal into the carrier that they wouldn't do it. And unfortunately, cats, just evolution, evolution is such that they are very good at hiding their illness, which I guess makes sense, seeing as that, wild animals that are perceived as weak are going to be in trouble. And so cats being very good at hiding their illness, generally speaking, if they're not going for wellness visits, they're only going when they are showing symptoms, when they're symptomatic. And oftentimes a symptomatic cat brought to a vet, the first thing the vet's going to say is, well, it's too bad, you weren't able to get here sooner. What could have been resolved maybe with some antibiotics is now going to require something much more invasive. And so this was part of our process, and it ultimately led to this concept, which would make it easier and less stressful, again, not only for the cat, but for the owner to load a cat into a carrier and bring it to the vet, and then ultimately have it arrive at the vet, which can be a very overwhelming experience for a cat because unlike dogs, most cats in the US are indoor pets. And so they're not exposed to the same daily stimulants as a dog might be that's going on regular walks and is seeing other animals and is hearing other noises and smelling other smells. A cat has its very controlled bubble. And so you get to the vet's office and you're in the waiting room and there are dogs and there are other cats and there are maybe small animals and birds and a lot of noise. And by the time it's your cat's turn to go and see the doctor, the animal is so worked up and so stressed that the last thing it wants to do is to be pulled out of its carrier. And so our product not only solves the how do I load this animal into the carrier, but then ultimately when I get to the vet, how do we get it out?
Well, that's how I found out about it. Because if your veterinarian is a fear-free certified veterinarian, then we all know that your cat comes in the carrier and we're not supposed to set them down on the floor where all the dogs and other animals just look we're supposed to take them right to the exam room. But the reason the Calm Carrier was brought to my attention is because you can pull the drawer out as the veterinarian and do your full exam without having to pull the cat out. So I hate to be kind of self-serving, but that makes it easier for the cat and for me. So that is why I reached out to you about that. So talk a little bit about the sliding door. This is radio, so they can't see what we're talking about. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's a different concept. And I think for your listeners who are familiar with traditional hard-sided plastic carriers, they can probably, in their mind's eye, sort of recognize what this product looks like. However, it operates fundamentally differently in the sense that rather than having a wire door on the front that opens on a hinge, our product is designed in such a way that rather than opening similar to opening a door, it's more like opening a drawer to a bureau in your house, where we have not only a top and a bottom, but we also inside the bottom have a drawer, just like you would at home, like I said, in a desk or a bureau. And you can unhinge our door and slide the whole drawer out. And so that facilitates not only the loading process, because you can maybe envision how you'd put a cat into a drawer and then using one hand to sort of steady the animal. As you start to slide the drawer closed, the cat's natural instinct is to sort of stretch its front paws out and to brace itself, which is the perfect position in which to load the animal into the carrier, because it ducks its head and you just slide the drawer closed. And by the time it realizes what's happened, it's safe and secure in the carrier, ready to go. And as you point out, Dr. Kat, on the other end of it, when you're going to the vet, because with cats, what we found is that most oftentimes they're getting loaded into a carrier to visit the vet. Unlike dogs who tend to travel, cats tend to be more in the home. And so when they are going someplace, again, this is not always the case, but more often than not, they're heading to the vet. And so it can be a stressful experience for the animal to be removed from the carrier. And oftentimes what a vet may have to do is either put on some special protective gear so they can reach into the carrier to physically extract the cat, or they'll unscrew the top and sort of put a towel over it and try to wrap the cat up so it doesn't have a panic in the doctor's office. So as the cat arrives to the doctor and the doctor's ready to examine it, the carrier, just like it's opened for loading, you open the drawer like you would a drawer in your home. And before the cat understands really what's happened, like there it is in the vet's arm. And it's a very quick and much less traumatic process.
So for all my listeners who are veterinary technicians and veterinary assistants, this would mean that you would not be sitting in the floor with the carrier in two pieces with like 16 different little screws on the floor all around you so that your veterinarian could do the exam, because every day we do that. And so this is just amazing. So let me ask you this. I know we talk a lot with our listeners and my clients about teaching their cat to be unafraid in the carrier, maybe hiding treats in it or feeding the cat in the carrier. Can your carrier just sit in the living room with the door open? Does the door open too?
Well, so that's a good question. And actually, the thing that we would suggest is the door does not open. Let me answer your question first. The door does not open like a traditional carrier does, because our door acts, again, to go back to the drawer analogy, it acts more like the front of a drawer on your desk than it does a door. And so while our door is a wire door and the cat has full visibility and we do have ventilation around all four sides, the door does not swing open on a hinge. The reason why is because from an engineering standpoint, we wanted to make sure that this product was fail-safe. The idea being that the fewer moving parts that we incorporated into it, then the less likely a cat owner or a small animal owner would accidentally open the door inadvertently when it wasn't time to do so. And so what we ended up doing from a design standpoint was creating a fixed door that is more like the front of a drawer. So what you would do in the event that you wanted to acclimatize your pet to the carrier before, maybe the day before or the week before you go to load your animal to either go on a trip or to go to the doctor's office, is you would open it up, let your cat on its own sniff around, get in, maybe put in a favorite toy, a treat, a blanket that has a familiar smell, and allow it to get acclimatized that way.
Well, I love that. And I think that this is just a really, if you'd ever seen me on my hands and knees trying to take apart a carrier, it would make you feel good about your product. right?
We did have that in mind, and we did speak to a lot of vets as we were developing this product. And I think that in the early stages of the life cycle of this product, our biggest advocates actually have been vets, not only because it's a time saver in terms of not having to take apart the nuts and bolts of a traditional carrier, but also because many of them have expressed to us that it can be very difficult to examine a cat that has been worked up. And so if you're able to sort of get that cat out of there very quickly and with as little disruption emotionally and physically as possible, then the examination is probably going to be more effective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you talked a little bit about how much time you had devoted to making this kind of a fail-safe product. Can you talk a little bit about the durability and if it can be used for an airline carrier and those kinds of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So the product, again, it would be very, very similar to a traditional carrier. And for most people who see it set up, it doesn't look any different at all from a traditional carrier. I think that when you begin to realize that this product is different is when you see a picture of it or you see a video of it with the drawer open. And then you realize immediately, oh, wait a second, this is not what I thought it was. So from all of the durability standpoints, it's made from a high impact material. It was made so that it would be easy to clean, easy to maintain. It doesn't absorb odor. It's made to airline standards, but that's a bit of a squirrely thing, actually, because every airline, I think it should be noted, has their own criteria. Believe it or not, there isn't a globally accepted standard. So I would encourage anybody who's going to use a hard carrier for airline purposes to reach out to the specific airline that they're planning on traveling with. This carrier, however, cannot be brought into the cabin of an aircraft. And so I know that a lot of cat owners do travel on airlines with their cats in the cabin, so maybe under the seat in front of them. And this carrier won't do that because it's too big. But it is built to airline standard in the same way that many other hard-sided carriers are.
I know you mentioned, and I know I struggle with this sometimes as well, but you mentioned that you can open this with one hand because you're stabilizing the pet with the other or what have you when you're putting the animal in. So it's easy to open?
Yeah, so when you open it, it does take two hands. What you would do is you would put one hand on top of the carrier, and then you can use one hand to open the hinge and pull the drawer open. You can close it with one hand. It was designed to be closed with one hand, the theory being that you would need to have one hand available to sort of hold your cat in and comfort it as you sort of slide the drawer closed and then secure the latch. It is designed for one-handed closing. You could open it with one hand, but it just takes a little bit of practice.
So, and obviously it's quiet when it opens and closes. I know noisy metal things are pretty scary to cats. Is it pretty smooth?
It is. It's smooth. It's quiet. The product, again, it was designed with the idea to be completely friendly for cats, both from all senses standpoint. And I think that as many cat owners will attest, nobody knows their cat as well as they do. And each cat is very unique. And so what we encourage people to do is to understand what it is about their cat or their cat's, travel experiences that tend to give their pet anxiety, and that they can usually then understand how to best incorporate this product into their lives. And our hope as designers, engineers, and manufacturers of this product, and again, this product, we do manufacture it here in the US. This product is intended to help strengthen the bond between cat owners and their cat, because it can be, again, a very traumatic experience to have to physically force your cat somewhere that it doesn't want to go, either in or out. And I think that can cause a cat to potentially lose a certain amount of trust in the owner. And I think that whether or not that actually is the case, the owner certainly feels that way. And so this product, as with many of the products we design at Van Ness, it's done so to try to strengthen that bond and to say, hey, we think we have a solution here. We think that we've solved the problem. And I think that anybody who's owned a cat, or I should say most people who have owned a cat, have had trouble loading it into a carrier. And if they've not had trouble with that, then they've almost certainly had trouble getting it out of the carrier when the cat is in an unfamiliar setting. And so from that standpoint, we believe that we've come up with a product here that is going to make people's lives a little bit easier, particularly when it comes to traveling with their cat. And hopefully it will mean that cats can ultimately get better care, because I know for me, I have a dog and my dog loves going on car rides. And so when I open the car door, he hops right in and I can take him to the vet for a wellness check, no problem. Cat, on the other hand, like we discussed a few minutes ago, if your cat happens to be one of those cats that refuses to get into a carrier, it's very easy to forego that wellness visit. And I think that, as with people, if you take better care and you stay on top of your cat's health, it's going to lead to a happier and longer and healthier life ultimately.
Well, I happen to agree with you about that. And I certainly agree with you about cats trying to hide illness. I have had clients that have been clients of mine for years. And then one day, with their dog, and then one day they come in with a cat that I've never seen. And unfortunately, the cat is showing illness. And I'm like, wow, I could have made a difference for this if I had seen it before. And I truly believe that the travel and the transport of the cat to me is a big part of it. And that is why I reached out to you about this product. Now, it's a cool added side bonus that I can pull the drawer out and do my physical exam without having to move the cat, because it frightens the cat. And now that it's acclimated to the carrier, I'd rather it be able to stay there if possible. So this is really awesome. I thank you for inventing this product. I'm so glad that I saw it and reached out to you and you were able to come and talk about it with us today.
Well, Dr. Kat, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's my pleasure.
Hey, so I want to tell my listeners how they can find out more about this product. I want to make sure we mention the name and maybe any online ways that they could look up information about it or whatever. How can they find out more?
Sure, absolutely. So the best way would be to go to my company website, which is vannesspets.com, which is VANNESSPETS.com. Or we actually have a website exclusively for the comm carrier, which is commcarrier.com. And actually, Dr. Kat, I should mention that we've just very recently developed a larger size comm carrier. So we had, after our initial release, we had a lot of pet parents calling up saying, hey, I've got a big cat. Where's your bigger carrier? I love this product, but I want a bigger one. And so we developed a larger one. So now we have two versions. We have the comm carrier and we have the comm carrier max, which is 4 inches longer than the original carrier. Our original carrier is designed to hold pets up to 25 pounds. This one's designed for cats up to 35 pounds. And I should say that most cats in the US and in general are smaller than 25 pounds, but people like to make sure their cat has plenty of room to stand up and walk around. And so that's why we came out with this larger size.
No, I love the different options. Another thing that I think is really cool is that when you need to deconstruct it, it's really easy to do so. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you only use your carrier once or twice a year for vet visits, it would be very easy to unscrew the top and it nests right into the bottom. And so you can save quite a bit of space in your closet or slide it right under your bed or wherever you may keep it until it's needed. So it can be taken apart. What we're finding is that most people tend not to, because the drawer slides out between uses. It can be very easily wiped down or washed out if the need arises. And so we find that most people aren't taking them apart. But again, if space is a concern, it can be disassembled and reassembled very quickly.
Well, I would encourage my cat-loving listeners to leave it out. I mean, at least we talked a little bit about getting it out the week before the visit or whatever, but leave it out as much as you can so that it's not too scary and too strange to a cat before they go in it, which is part of the process that we talk about with carrier training. But this one certainly makes it easier to get them in. And then when you get to the vet, for us to do what we've got to do. So thank you for inventing this. I'm so grateful.
Well, Dr. Kat, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you and to your listeners. And I hope to be able to talk to you guys again soon.
Well, I'll be watching now since I know you have other products and things. I will certainly be watching and I may reach out to you again. But thank you so much for your time today. As always, I want to thank our amazing producer, Mark Winter, and our cat-loving listeners are awesome. And I want you guys all to go out and have a perfect day.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.